Now we're live. If I see me, I'm live. Okay, great. Okay. We have the committee and the whole meeting agenda in front of us. Land acknowledgement, the District of Sechelt is located on the traditional and unceded territory of the Sechelt Nation. We respect the histories, language, and culture of the people of Sechelt Nation, whose present continues to enrich this community and provides a place for my family to thrive. I'd like to call this meeting to order and ask for any declarations of conflict from 7 council members present, if in effect. Not seeing any, I have an agenda in front of me with one item on it. I would look for an adoption of the agenda, please. Councillor Toth, Councillor Rowe, thank you. All in favor? Great. Okay, no appointments or delegations. So we have the business item 2024 provisional budget book version 2, 5.1 on the agenda. Thanks staff for preparing this voluminous document for us today. And if I could ask the council members here to just ask for a motion to accept the document as presented. Thank you, Councillor Toth, and then Shepherd, all in favor of accepting the document. Thank receiving it. And now let's go into questions in reference to the document presented. Please, council. Councillor Shepherd? Yeah, because are you next?
A question for Director Douglas, just if he could review any changes, significant changes from book 1.
So every sheet in the booklet is basically swapped out. We've incorporated all the decisions of council or committee of the whole so far to date. When we get to the 5-year financial plan, we'll be detailing more, but every motion that council's now passed is now incorporated into the document. So the structure is all the same. We had a shortened list of capital, a little bit of shortened list on additional operating requests, and the new lists are in the book. Okay.
Any additional questions in reference to that former question, Councillor Shepherd? All you needed to know? Not at the moment? Not at the moment. Okay, great. Councillor, yes. McLaughlin. Yeah.
Yes, I was wanting to know, there was, last time we met to discuss the budget, there was an ongoing public information gathering session, and also I had submitted some tables of possible ideas, recommendations to quite substantially reduce the capital budget. In particular, I just wondered what became of that. Thank you.
So the first question about public, I'm not quite sure what the question is there. We had just a public session on Zoom just to go over what council's recommendations were. And so it was just really a one-sided presentation. And nothing has happened with the list that you provided. There was no motion of council to review that or look at it.
Okay, so are your thoughts?
Well,
okay, great. So, okay, just 1 second. So clarification probably.
yeah, clarification. I thought there was also on our website kind of a let's talk thing where oncoming comments were coming from the public, and I haven't heard any feedback as a councillor about what became of any of those feedbacks. Thank you. And on the second point, I mean, the budget is still open for discussion, I think. That's what we were told yesterday at the Chamber of Commerce. So I don't know why you wouldn't have some comment. You did read what I sent anyway. Hopefully you have some comments. Thank you.
Yeah, I think Councillor McLaughlin, what Mr. Douglas said is that you presented a list, and if there was no movement and or introduction from other council members, that the list would just be presented and not acted upon. I think that's what Mr. Douglas just insinuated. Mayor Henderson, do you want to add to that? And then we'll come back.
Thank you, Chair. I think maybe the productive question I'd like answered, this would be for us today for receipt as presented, which is all fine. But what are the next steps leading up to ultimately approval of this budget and completion of the 5-year plan? Like to Councillor McLaughlin's point, when does council get another chance to perhaps endorse what you've submitted or change it for that matter? Thank you.
The next steps for staff is to take the 1-year budget and push it out into a 5-year plan. And that will come back in April to council along with multitude of bylaws. And at that point, it'll include a little more robust taxing information at that point. So the intention is by the first council meeting in May, to have first readings on all those bylaws.
Okay, I think that you answered the legislative piece to that, but I think what the mayor was asking, is there an opportunity coming forward? Will there be an opportunity to discuss some of the points and or changes proposed by council members? Are there any other opportunities to do that?
Okay, so I have no proposed changes at this point. I have motions from previous meetings. I will be bringing the 5-year plan to a committee of the whole first. So that would be the point of any other conversations on the budget. And that would be in April.
Okay. Councillor Shepherd?
Just to refer back to Councilor McLaughlin's point, I did see the spreadsheet, and I think the difficulty in dealing with it is, I mean, it's a huge number of changes. If I recall, it was a suggestion to reduce the capital plan from about $10 million down to 2 point something. So I wonder if it's productive for if Councilor McLaughlin wants to bring forward with a specific suggestion, to bring forward a motion on a specific item instead of, I don't know, going into a lot of commentary about all the suggested changes. Thank you.
Okay, just 1 second. So how do we proceed then with this? I mean, the budget's been put together and it's presented here, and there's an indication by councillor there was a list submitted that there was no satisfaction. So I'm asking you because you have
Because I'm
to,
a member of the committee.
well, but
Mhm.
also the presiding ex officio member. So how would you want to proceed then with a number of lists being put together and no decisions being previously made?
Okay, well, for me, I think I've heard we have one more substantive opportunity, which is as part of the 5-year plan. I think that's perhaps complicating life for staff a bit, because I think in a perfect world, they would like to have a fixed first year approved, but we're not being asked to approve it today. So I think what I'm hearing is we'll get the chance that I hear Councillor McLaughlin. And I agree. I would like to have, it seems over the last month, perhaps we've been busy. We've been on other priorities, and we haven't, I'll make it personal. I haven't spent the time that I would like to have spent on it. And when I saw the agenda this week, I thought, okay, at least this is a line, we've defined where we're at today, but I assumed we would have one more chance. So I'm hearing, to answer your question, Chair, I'm hearing that we have one more chance in April. I hope it's earlier in April to give us an opportunity to both provide our comments in advance and to have a fulsome conclusion to this process so that we can get the 5-year done by the middle of May.
Okay, any other questions from council? Councillor McLaughlin?
Yes, thank you through the chair. Well, I mean, I was looking at this agenda and thinking today is a chance to discuss this budget. We haven't had a chance, or it hasn't been on an agenda for 2 months. You know, and when it came to us last time, I got to admit, I was quite sick over Christmas in January. I did work on it, and I found, as I mentioned before at the previous budget meeting, that most of the capital projects didn't really abide by our current, which is fairly new, but our strategic plan. And to me, the strategic plan is really important. So That's when I even mentioned that at that meeting, and that's why I worked on it, and that's why I reviewed these projects. But I'm particularly concerned about, which has become an issue now in the community, is the building facility renewal for this building. And for instance, last year in the 2023 budget, we had allocated $600,000 for this. And now it's become a situation where the librarians have said, you know, we haven't been consulted, where architects have been hired unbeknownst to me at the time, that they would be coming up with design plans and looking at options that are a lot of money. And I'm just trying to get my current plan here to talk about this particular project, but it's a multi-year project with different funding sources and a lot of money. So I would like to know, besides the water damage we have from the flood here, which I assume would be fixed through insurance, why we've gone from a 600,000 budget last year for this project to whatever it is now, multi-year, $1 million this year and another $1 million over the next few years. So that's one project I think we should discuss. It's become a real issue. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So Director Douglas, you had your hand up in reference to the initial comments made by Councilor McLaughlin. If you want to speak to that, the building issue as well, if you're prepared to, that's
So
helpful.
the capital budget incorporates council strategic plan, but is not limited to it. We have other things that we need to take care of, like road replacement, equipment replacement, computer replacement, all on a cycle so that we don't have spikes, you know, in having to deal with these things. So I believe the capital plan does incorporate many aspects of the strategic plan of council, but it's not limited to that. Council or staff have projects that need to be done that we know we have some failing infrastructure that may not be in the priority list of council, but it needs to be done. So we have to be cognizant that really that it incorporates the strategic plan of council, but it also incorporates life cycle of assets. To the building, we presented to council that we have kind of a 5-phase program with regards to the envelope of the building. The first phase was budgeted last year due to several reasons, including time, but the other one was trying to put phase 1 and 2 together to try and get better pricing. We're budgeted for phase 2 this year. We're going to combine them. We wanted to combine them into one project and then proceed in future years with phase 3 and 4. And those phases are only dealing with the envelope. It has nothing to do with additions at this point. At a future meeting coming up, we're going to be talking specifically about some options around what we can plan for if council is interested. Otherwise, we can proceed just with the maintenance of the building.
Okay, any other thoughts from any other council members before I go back to Councilor McLaughlin? Councilor Shepherd?
Just to follow up that comment, I think they are sizable amounts, as Councilor McLaughlin mentioned, but it's really being driven by the facade of the buildings falling apart. So there's some urgent decisions that needed to be made. It's a phased multi-year project. It is expensive, but it's expensive to build a building. So, as the directors mentioned, this has nothing to do with future expansion. This is all to do with just repairing the building itself. Thank you.
Councilor Bell, and then back to Councilor McLaughlin.
Thank you, through the chair. I think that discussion around the building was fairly intense. There was a lot of discussion, and I'm not sure that, it was really clear as to what we wanted to decide on that night. So I think it would be good to just kind of revisit this in terms of what's the critical piece, what's the priority, and then we can look at the bigger picture. My understanding is from that meeting, it was to do with the tower at that point. So that's what I need to have some clarification from that evening. Thank you.
So you want clarification from,
Lee, I'd like clarification and to just have a clarification of what the priority was that night
okay,
and how we proceed from that.
okay, committee member Henderson.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Inkster. They're two different things,
Mhm.
right? So we've got the building envelope around the building, which we've known about. That's a failing. I totally support. We got to fix it. And if we can do it in 2 years, that's better than 3 years. Separate issue is whatever we want to call it, the lighthouse, the grand expansion. So I think the first comment is more about, I certainly support, let's get the building envelope done. And then I hear we're gonna have a separate discussion in April, sorry, Chair, we're gonna have a separate discussion in April about, do we take the lighthouse down? Do we build it up? Do we turn it sideways or whatever else?
Okay, so I understand what the priority is.
That's clear, the priorities, Councillor Bell then?
Yes.
Okay, because that's really important how we proceed on something that in the end just fell on our lap. Much like Councillor Toth knows, when things break, you got to fix it. Yeah. Okay, Councillor McLaughlin?
Yeah, I think we're all, thank you through the chair, a little bit of clarification on this. And for instance, in the 2023 plan, there was no 5-year phasing up of the work. So this is why it's confusing to me. If we knew it was 5-year phasing, we should have been told that last year because it's not really showing us the whole scope of the project. I think another issue then we have is maybe some funding might want to be considered as part of this whole issue that's come up, probably through the flooding really, is how are we going to manage the next few years? If it is going to be multi-phase, that means that there's going to be disruption here in this building for the next few years. The librarians are, managing, but I talked to actually one librarian today in the mall, and I reminded her, well, I told her, like, when I grew up in Calgary, actually a lot of our local libraries were in malls, just like it is here now by default, due to the situation. But the idea of having some mall space maybe for while this construction's going on and some extra funding for librarians could probably help the community get through this process, because anyone who's been through renovations and that, and people who work here in City Hall are going to find it quite difficult. I've been through a lot of school seismic renovations, and it's very, very difficult to go through renovations when you're trying to work somewhere. Especially a library where you kind of want it kind of quiet and kind of able to do all the activities that they do. So that might be something we should consider as an additional budget item that we never really thought of before. And the other ones relating to the strategic plan, yes, I did identify over $2 million in projects that were critical, that really didn't fall into the idea of being part of one of our new strategies, but they were critical. Maybe that's just an oversight in our strategic plannings that we should have had a bit of a section on that and a priority and a budget for that, because yeah, a lot of them fell through the cracks. But every item in the capital budget was given some pull down menu from our current capital plan, and or strategic plan. I took a little offense to that because it's a little misleading. Like, either they really are part of our strategic plan and they fit in, or they don't. And if they don't, they shouldn't be reported in the 1-page summaries to say that they do. So that's what I was trying to work through, those, complications, because I think we need to be clear to the public about what we're doing. And I honestly believe that, a lot of, especially going to the Chamber of Commerce luncheon yesterday, a lot of businesses are still in the throes of trying to recover from COVID and trying to make a go of things here, honestly. And a lot of families, a lot of seniors are hard pressed to actually pay for their daily lives still. So taxation, you can say it's not much money in terms of an increase, but we've had so many years of increases as included in this budget. Last time I looked at how long it took to double the taxation rate, I think it took at least, like when I was looking at my bills, 30 years to double my taxation. And now we're going to double the taxation through cumulative additional taxations in maybe 7. So I am very concerned about that because people do not have a lot of extra money. And this is not really the year, I think, to just go ahead with a huge capital plan list of things that we don't necessarily need right now. Thank you.
Okay, so, just a question to you again. There was how many finance meetings was there? Like 6 or 5 or something like that to discuss these issues? Just through the mayor again, because Councillor McLaughlin had said that she wasn't feeling well, so I was just trying to determine, there's a lot of, it was through to you, maybe to Doug?
There was at least 5 or 6.
5 or
and
6,
2 of them they're all public,
Yeah, of
and
course.
2 of them were full day sessions.
and
For the
2,
council.
yeah, okay, so lots of time. Okay, Councillor Shepherd?
Thank you to the chair. I think everyone on council shares Councilor McLaughlin's concern for taxation rates and the rate increases per year. But, you know, I go back to my last point. If you have a specific item that you wish to have deleted from the budget in order to reduce taxation, please, by all means, come forward with it. Say specifically what you want to delete. This is the time to do it. Thanks.
If I could just follow up on that. For instance, we know we're not getting some grants that we were hoping to, and that was millions of dollars. We're not going to get those grants, the federal ones. So and I did send an email that, you know, those should be taken out of our budget now. And as discussed during all of our deliberations, I was told if we don't get the grants, they will be taken out of the budget. So we know now we're not getting that grant, it should be taken out. I think that makes the budget and look more realistic and honest, because we know that now and we should correct it. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to go to committee member Henderson, and then Director Douglas, and then to Councillor Bell. You're fine? I thought you had a comment about that last thing. Okay, okay, sure.
So we heard about that grant just the other day, and that was after version 2 was published. So you'll find in the first version of the 5-year financial plan that all that information will be taken out.
Okay. Councillor Bell?
No.
You're good? That clarified it for you. Any other comments from council sitting here? Councillor Rowe?
Just unrelated to sort of the path we've been going down, but a question about our little budget, mayor and council. With regards to professional dues, I know we were budgeted 82 for 2023, spent 56. Oh, I'm sorry, we're looking at page 42.
42, okay, yep.
And then the draft budget we're budgeted for 109. So I'm just wondering what, have we, because this is where conferences and such lies, right? So have we expanded the options? Or is that inflationary or?
What we try to do is when we do the budget, we look on internet to find out what the fees for those similar conferences were coming up for.
Mhm.
So often they have it posted early and other ones don't have it posted yet. So, you know, it's the best information we could get at the time of budgeting for those numbers.
And the increase for contract services for 2024, I know we're having we're contracting a facilitator.
Yes, yeah,
To
any planning like that has been done would be
That's
incorporated.
encompassed in there. Okay, thanks.
Follow up on that.
Yeah, Councillor McLaughlin?
Yes, thank you through the chair. I'm just wondering whether the 2022 amounts were so low, was that because of COVID and people kind of not having conferences and things, because it's gone up quite dramatically each year after? Thank you.
Yes, it dropped because either the conferences in 2021 and 2 were canceled or they were virtual. And so they've gone from, so we dropped everything, the actuals and budget dropped, but now we're getting back to in person, everything's becoming back in person. And so it's just returning back to where it had been prior to COVID, really.
Okay, Counselor Rowe and then,
Just one
Mayor
other,
Henderson?
oh, sorry, one
Yeah,
other
yeah,
comment
sorry.
on that. 2022 is an election year, so only Alton, myself and Darnelda went to UBCM because we were the only ones that were running again, so that dropped what would normally be a bigger price tag.
Okay,
Thank you, Chair. Just so what I'm hearing is some costs have gone up. There's differences between an election year and other years, but there's nothing new other than the contract services, I guess. Everything else is, we went to UBCM 3 years ago, we're budgeting for UBCM. Seeing a nod from our Director of Finance, so thank you.
Yeah, that's correct. Same with the EVICC and, ones that are, really pertain to our community. Yes.
wow. Okay, Counselor McLaughlin.
Thank you through the chair. I'm just a little curious about what kind of consulting we're going to go through for that contract for $40,000. That sounds like a 6-day retreat to me for each person. So, but I'm just wondering if you could detail what that is and why it's 40,000.
Thank you for the question to the chair. So we're looking at receiving a template after the sessions that will guide council in the future, as well as two in-person day sessions, as well as we've been sending correspondence to the consultant. So they've been spending a considerable amount of time researching where we are currently at. So with those hours accounted for, that is the going rate for the consultant. The documents, I believe we sent about 35 documents to them, as well as links to minutes. So it's quite a deep dive into what we're doing at council. And then again, there will be a follow-up, so we'll be able to use the template for years to come.
Can I just clarify one thing, what a 1% tax increase is this year? What is that? How much is that?
If I go off my memory, it'd be $127,808.
Oh, that's, yeah, but not
That's-
50 cents.
That's 1%, yeah.
Okay, you missed 50 cents, I think, on that memory there. Okay, so 125, sorry?
127,808.
Okay, so 128. So the consultant piece and all this templates and that, which is more money than I thought it was going to be when I kept talking about it. So it's a little bit of sticker shock there. But it sounds like it's about 1/3 of a 1% tax increase. Okay. Any other thoughts from council on the information that was presented just now? Councillor McLaughlin?
I just had want a point of clarification on the projects that were funded through the federal grant are being removed, not having other grants put in their place or other funds from the district. Thank you.
I don't think we can't do stuff like that, but did you want to speak that quickly?
Well, usually the only ones that are included are the ones we applied for.
Yeah.
Or are about to apply for.
Yeah.
And then they come out if we hear in time for the budget, which we have now heard.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they stay in until we hear.
So it should be clear to council that that's not money in hand.
Correct.
Okay, thanks. Mayor Henderson, and then Councillor Bell.
Thank you. Different topic. I did give staff a heads up, but I think in a formal process in the next time round, I'd like to see us discuss the multiplier that we apply to the different categories of properties.
Mhm.
I think I did, as I say, I did ask and was able to mention this to the Chamber of Commerce yesterday. There's an impact on business, and there's no right or wrong answer to this, but the question of, are we applying the right multiple? I'd like to see us debate that as council. So I don't have a suggestion of, should it be 2 times or 5 times? I just think it's helpful for us to look at the decision of, our decision of, are we taxing in the appropriate place?
Yeah, and it used to be 2%.
And it's
Yeah.
now about 2.6 or 2.7. So should it be two, and
Yeah.
this is why I say it's not there's no right or wrong answer, but
Yeah.
I do know that an average business, I think, will save about $1,200 if we reduced the multiplier. But that would add $66, I think was what I was
Yeah.
told, to each individual household.
Yeah.
So what's best for the community? Today, I don't propose we debate that today. I'd just like to see us
Yeah,
have that
the,
chance.
I mean, I brought it down to 2.02, I think, in 2009, and it has crept up since, but that'll be a good discussion because it is true. If we try to save the business, the commercial tax, the money it's put on the residential homeowner.
Or indeed, it could be put on our one utility, I guess.
Yeah, well, yeah, most likely that wouldn't happen. So back to the residents, but yeah.
Sorry, couldn't
Yeah.
be put onto the utility because that rate is the max right now.
Sorry, I'm reaching for a.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's maximum. Councilor McLaughlin.
Yes, through the chair. Yeah, further to that point, there, that was a sentiment that came across quite strongly and walking around and seeing our empty shops and talking to your hairdressers who basically had such a time trying to cover their COVID loans and crazy stories. It's really tough. And that's why I think really keeping our budget down as low as possible at this point helps everybody save some money. And it may give us some wiggle room to pass on some of those savings and reduce taxation levels to local businesses for a year or two. And I think they would really appreciate that. Thank you.
Can I ask, before I go to Councilor Bell, Mr. Douglas, do you know, I mean, this is kind of a tough one, but you might do it just like the last one. The increase in taxes that we are proposing, 8% versus what would be considered a conservative budget of 3%, is that much of a difference in additional taxation to an average business? Because sometimes it's not the large amounts we're dealing with actually small amounts.
I
Yeah.
think, I think maybe the question might be, so 3% is for capital contribution.
Yeah.
So that's kind of separate from what I think you're suggesting as 3%. So ours would be 5.48 for operations. And you're talking, that, 3% is, whatever. Of course, there would be a difference for sure. Yeah, but through this budget, we have approved, we have approved, a little bit of a increased level of service and, other things that we had brought to council. And so we would, we're right now moving forward with that because those are the motions that we have.
Okay, so I can ask you that offline then, because obviously we're moving in this direction, but I do wonder, so. Yeah, thanks. Anybody else? Councilor Bell, that's right, thanks.
Just a general comment around, certainly, I don't want to see us raise our taxes a lot either. At the same time, if we really need to look at some really, the infrastructure costs, those needs that we have in our community. And if we need to go back and look at this with a different lens, then let's do that. But I want to be realistic about what this community needs. I don't want to raise taxes either, but at the same time, we don't want to get caught in situations where we need to fix things and we don't have the money to do it. So I just want to keep that in mind, that rather than looking at the number and saying, no, we don't want to do a double digit. Let's go back to this budget then and say, okay, these are the things that we can absolutely do without, and then look at how our number looks. But I feel we're stuck on this. We don't want to do double digits. And I want us to really take a good look at this budget and see what we can and cannot realistically eliminate and how it's going to impact us over the next year. That's what I'd like to see.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. I think those discussions have been had, but we have one more meeting coming up. Any other thoughts from council? Thanks, Councilor Bell. Councilor McLaughlin?
Thank you through the chair. I also want to leave, if possible, a slight window for some potential community-based projects that we don't really have here in terms of trying to implement the strategic plan and trying to have some projects that really relate to climate change and resilience and adaptation. I don't think we really have a real plan for on-the-ground projects and community-based projects. For instance, I think we need to put some money towards somehow having some kind of youth. I think, you know, a high school, junior high school youth program for a while to service the kids and get them something that we can help fund to show we care about youth, because I think that's one of our strategic priorities. And I've heard that we've had some issues with youth in the community lately, but we know that kids that are bored get into mischief. So if we could offer something there, I think that would be really helpful. Also, I would like to do something that integrates Sechelt Nation youth with our youth. I know they go to the same high school, but for instance, even when I go to the rec center and that, I don't see much integration with our First Nations partners. And I would like to try and do something like we had a luncheon today, something that welcomes and includes and builds community together moving forward, because I think, you know, this is, to me, is a real critical aspect of how I see the future of Sechelt. Nature-based, and I don't think anyone is better at telling us what we can do to go in that direction than our Sechelt Nation partners, friends, whatever. We don't even, I think we should even call them family. I think that would be fair, because we have to work together as a family. We have to support each other, because, you know, we have a lot of more strength together than working independently. And I want to see positive relations there built as well. Thank you.
Thanks. Just two thoughts, and maybe we'll come to the end of this agenda. In terms of integration, Councilor McLaughlin, it's one of the things that's called youth sport. That's how we're integrating our youth, and Councilor Rowe and others. I think Councilor Toth, who's been involved in some youth things, and myself and others may tell you why that there's lots of integration there. And I've spoke to it before in council reports. Also, though, the community grants that Councilor Bell is part of has a number of youth programs within that. So I think we have to create groups that will then apply to that funding. So that's just my thoughts. We can't really solve the problems today, but I just wanted to let you know that.
Yes, I could just follow up with that. I mean, not all youth are into sport. You know, we need to have a broader base, and we need to make sure we're servicing this small community, because, I mean, kids are our future and they're really important. And we can maybe gear them towards really important employment programs, pre-employment programs that, you know, could be very helpful to the community. Thank you.
Councilor Bell?
Just a reminder that we did apply for a grant just recently, just last meeting. And I think, so we're certainly not forgetting about our youth. In fact, that's a significant grant, and hopefully we'll get more money from that.
Okay, thanks, Councilor Bell, for reminding us. Anything else, Council? I'll put forward and ask if there's a motion to adjourn then. Thank you, Councilor Shepherd. That was very quick. Did you hurt yourself? Okay. Councilor Toth? All in favor of adjournment? Thank you. We got it. Yeah, unanimous. Thanks. Any questions?